A recent report has already revealed what the Brewers' plan is regarding Freddy Peralta, as a price has been revealed. And with that, Brewers fans and analysts are already going over some trade results proposed by multiple different sources for a guy like Freddy Peralta. We're going to be breaking it down, going over some of the biggest names, as well as they revealed what the biggest need in return for Freddy Peralta will be for this Milwaukee Brewers team. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Before we do jump into it though, ladies and gentlemen, like I said in every single video, if you're looking for your Milwaukee Brewers news all the time throughout this offseason, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button, join me here on the channel. We're covering everything Milwaukee Brewers, and now with multiple reports coming out still surrounding Freddy Peralta, you're not going to want to miss what is coming out regarding this Brewers team. I'm going to have it here on the channel every single bit of news, but let's jump straight into this. And I first wanted to go over the original kind of report here coming out from an article going, Peralta's contract is 1 year left on it, and the Brewers have traded star players in the scenario in the past. Spotric projects that Freddy Peralta's extension to be a 5-year, $152 million deal, which would certainly mean the Brewers couldn't afford it. Now, I shouldn't say, and this article shouldn't say they couldn't afford it. It should say they will not be paying it, because although, yes, this is a major deal, would be one of the biggest in Brewers history, but going into this, there is certainly a way that they can go out here and keep Freddy Peralta on this team. But with a track record that they have going with Corbin Burnes and Devin Williams, all signs really point to a deal coming. Whether that is to any of the top teams across the MLB, we know that just about every single team will be interested. And for Freddy Peralta being a guy who has had such a great season in that very, very same kind of situation as these other guys who have been moved, it says a lot about what the plan is for the Milwaukee Brewers, at least over this summer, and what they're going to be fielding in terms of trade calls from across the MLB. Now, with that, a 5-year, $150 million means $30 million a year. That is a lot of money compared to what we've seen from this Brewers team, how they've been able to manage to get to the NLCS without big names like this, without massive numbers like this. And it all does stem really from the original trades that they've had regarding, let's just say, Corbin Burnes and Devin Williams, plus more, that was able to bring in a lot of these younger players who we saw succeed in the NLCS. And of course, we know that as the bottom line of a trade for Freddy Peralta, that would be the same mindset that Matt Arnold, Pat Murphy, and this Brewers team would have, is to bring in some younger talent that will help out just about right away. And, when you're going into a guy, or I should say a team like the NLCS Brewers that we just saw, plus the team that we just saw in the regular season, you're just about there. And Freddy Peralta was a big part of that. You have a lot of younger pitchers coming in to take a spot, I guess you could say. Probably won't be as good as him starting off, but we saw Miz how good he was in the postseason, putting him back into that starter role, having him as an ace, assuming that you're getting rid of Brandon Woodruff, Jose Quintana, and Freddy Peralta. You're going to have to, first of all, get the market as well on the free agency side of things for some starting pitching, but also have to trust your younger pitchers, especially if you want to get back to an NLCS and go to a World Series. And with the younger players that we've just seen, they've shown that they can get to that spot. So the Brewers are just going to be looking for what they need, which is help right now. The pitching is good, very, very solid, especially with the younger pieces that can come into the starting role over the next couple of seasons. But right now, the thing they're lacking is power. And we're going to jump into that here in a moment and really kind of go over what pieces could be going on. But when we look at the last few trades, we kind of get an idea as to what the mindset will be for the Brewers behind any sort of deal. And this one here, the Devin Williams, you get Nestor Cortez, who really didn't work out. Caleb Durbin, we know how important he was this season, and cash considerations. You go over to the Corbin Burnes trade, you get Joey Ortiz. Once again, how important he was when he was acquired and throughout this season. Not so much on the offense, but his defense is a part of him that will be, just about irreplaceable over the next couple of years. And if you see him get into that offensive mindset that we saw for a little bit at the end of the season, where, he was hitting about 500 for 7 games or whatnot, if you could see that as a regular part of Joey Ortiz's game, this trade immediately is a steal, plus DL Hall and a pick. So kind of putting this all into consideration, it's very evident what the Brewers' method of trade will try to be. To get younger, but have that help come right now. And when you're coming down to that, there's a few names that have been reported in an article. And this is kind of I'm not going to dive too deep into each individual player here. I'll touch on Zach Cole a little bit, but One thing about all of these names here, which comes from an article saying these are names that the Brewers need to target in a Freddy Peralta trade. And Zach Cole being one, Jet Williams, and Hao-Yu Lee. Both, or I should say, three of those from teams that will certainly be interested in Freddy Peralta, plus other teams that we know, such as the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Blue Jays. I could probably name just about entirely half the MLB. The Red Sox as well. But this will kind of put you in a mindset and kind of guide you into a direction of what the Brewers will be looking for. Now, when you're going into this, the Brewers have a very young core, obviously. These guys all part of the development of these teams. And in a trade for Freddy Peralta, the Brewers will be looking for, like I said, that young talent that they could get to help now. One thing about all of these guys is they have a very, very good-looking, future projection for their power and slugging in the MLB. And I'll pull up Zach Cole right now, in a moment here. I'll kind of touch on what the whole idea behind this is. Continuing from this article, it said, in the end, if the Brewers do decide to make the difficult decision to trade Freddy Peralta, targeting players with significant power potential should be a top priority. The three players highlighted each bring more power upside than returns in Milwaukee's previous major moves, two of which I just showed. While moving Peralta is undoubtedly a sting, landing impact bats who can change the games in one swing could set the Brewers up for long-term success and help balance a roster that long relied on pitching, contact speed, and defense to stay competitive. And we can really go back to even just this season, how important Andrew Vaughn's power bat was when he was acquired by this Brewers team. If you have some more of that coming in through the system, that will fill that role that Andrew Vaughn will ultimately leave when he does, whether it's retire or go elsewhere, whatever the plan is for him in the future. The Brewers need some more power bats. So kind of focusing on the power more so this time, more so than these previous trades of getting a guy like Caleb Durbin, who did show his very good batting style here throughout this season, and a guy like Joey Ortiz, who strictly is relying on defense for this team. The power is something that this team needs, and sparking that from these trade reports, I think, is definitely a good idea to go out here and kind of put in the minds of people that power is the need for the Milwaukee Brewers in any sort of trade, and especially one for Freddy Peralta when you know you can go out and acquire a lot more than you would need at really any other point in a season or an off season. So let me know what you think about that. But like I said, I'm going to jump into Zach Cole just a little bit here. I'm not going to go too far into any of these guys because, of course, there is just an article here. This is kind of proposing the idea from three specific teams, but not going into kind of the full scale across the MLB. But when you look at Zach Cole's stats here, main thing I wanted to look at was the home runs. Of course, 7, 3, 8. Don't look like too much, but when you're going throughout those games and you're going throughout, those were the triples, but when you're going 19, 11, 19, 13, still don't look like too much, but when you're comparing that to the games played, the situations, everything about this guy screams that he has a lot of power that will be coming, and especially in the MLB level. 4 home runs in 15 games that he did play this year. Very solid start to his career, and if that could translate to a Milwaukee Brewers roster, just like all these other guys, and I believe their home runs are separated by, 1 to 2 for the last season, all combined, it really goes to show power is a big priority for them, but also it's going to be for the Milwaukee Brewers heading into this offseason. So let me know what you think. First of all, the Freddy Peralta kind of trade mindset. Would you think power is the main priority? If not, what do you think it would be? But also, when you're looking at the price tag that was shown for Freddy Peralta at that $152 million for 5 years, $30 million AAV, let me know what you think about that. Would you be comfortable with the Brewers even considering paying that? Would you rather have a trade go out where you can get the most value possible? I think there's a lot of possibilities here, and I want to know what you guys think here in the comments below. That is all I have here in this video, though. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.